I'm not comparing COVID to the flu. Like I fucking hate people who do that. But all the same, I'm just using this as an example. Like before all this shit went down, as far as the pandemic, you didn't have to prove that you've been vaccinated to go into an establishment, and that just seems like it's a really huge government overreach, in my opinion.
I mean, you got to prove it if you want to go to public school, your parents got to get you vaccinated. I mean, we all remember going into the nurse's office and getting vaccines while in school. Like a couple times a year when you're in elementary school and stuff like that. So it's not completely without precedent. But no, I mean, I'm in complete agreement with the idea of like how far is this going to go and how much overreach should there be. So I think this is what I'll say. We couldn't even pass a mask mandate. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Michigan tried to do that, and people showed up to try to kidnap the fucking governor. Like, for masks. Not even talking about, like, vaccine passports. So I think, I'm fairly certain that the government knows that there's no chance in hell that that's going to play politically. And Biden actually has, like, pretty decent approval right now. And he's not going to start fucking with, like, getting things done just so that he can mandate, like, a national, like, vaccine passport. That being said, I think it's completely within the right of any business to want to require that. Like, if you're thinking, like, let's say you have a bar and you know that, like, 60% of your clientele is vaccinated, and that's enough business to keep you open, and now you're like, okay, I'm finally getting my customers back, I finally have things going in the right direction, I'm finally making money again, the last thing I need is another outbreak. So now it becomes in actually your own best interest as a business who wants to stay open to want to make sure that you're, that your customer base is vaccinated, and that's the whole interesting thing that we're kind of running into here in general is, the conservatives who have always fought for private business and for private business being able to make their own rules and, like, really have had no interest in trying to slow down the likes of Amazon or, any of these huge corporations that make so much money every year, and they just kept allowing it. And now guess what? These companies are so big that they get to make the laws. They're like, Amazon's like, oh yeah, we employ millions of people. And now I can tell those millions of people, oh, you can't post this on social media. Oh, you have to be vaccinated. Oh, you have to do this to have a job. Oh, we're going to shut down Parler on our servers. And so yeah, it's just really interesting to see that the companies have been given so much power that they're actually able to make those kind of decisions, and now the Republicans are like really in a rock and a hard place where like they want to still be pro-business, but the business is making what could be considered to be liberal decisions, and they're like, what the fuck do we do about this? It even goes into the MLB All-Star game getting moved from Georgia, and I'm getting a little bit off topic here, but I don't know, man. It's scary, but it's not without precedent, and it makes sense in a lot of ways. But also, I'll say this just real quickly, like, I have to do my taxes for the last couple of years, and because I didn't do my taxes the last 2 years, and not like I just need to get them done. That's all there is to it. It's not like a big deal. But because I didn't do that, I also currently don't have my health insurance right now. And they want me to have health insurance to go get the vaccine, which I'm sure there's somewhere I can go and like get it without health insurance. But I went to look at scheduling an appointment. It's like, well, make sure you show up with your health insurance card. So now it's this pile of thing where like I didn't get any of the stimulus checks. I don't have my health insurance. I now am going to need that to get a vaccine, and it's just this pile upon pile of like piles upon piles upon piles of shit like that need to be done that are all fucking strung together, and that's where it gets scary to me. Like I'm trying to do the right things here. Like I've been working on my taxes for like the last, because they're a bit complicated. That's really the issue for like the last like month or so. Trying to get them all in order, and all these other things are being like tied to that. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. I don't know. I don't fucking know.
Well, and going back to what you said about, I'm glad you mentioned Georgia, because that is quite a scenario going on with. So Georgia passed that, or did they pass? I think they passed it. Basically, like, they're just doubling down on voter suppression, right? And Coca-Cola, like, I think it was the CEO or somebody said something about it on Twitter, just about how that's terrible. And they came out saying, like, we're taking all Coca-Cola products out of our office suite. Like, do you think they give a shit? Do you think Coca-Cola right. gives a shit that you're doing that for these fucking 8 Politico nerds that oh, you're not drinking our product anymore? Oh, well, what a fucking loss. Like, go fuck yourself.
No shit.
Why even bother making that goddamn statement? You're like, what are you accomplishing? Like, who the fuck do you think you are that you're gonna say, oh, well, we're taking Coca-Cola products out of our office suite? Like, big fucking deal. Good for fucking you. Like.
It really, though, it's the Mr. Potato Head fucking scenario all over again. Those people are doing the same thing that Hasbro is doing, but just on opposite sides of the aisle, with, like, say, oh, it's just going to be Potato Head now. They're like, oh, look, we now can point fingers at Coke and get our, like, fucking base all riled up, and, right. Like, Donald Trump famously drinks the hell out of Diet Coke, and I think he was spotted drinking Diet Coke, like, the next day after he fucking said this whole shit about, like, that they need to boycott them, And, what's really interesting about that to me is, like, I think we'll find out really how much these companies care, especially in the production world. So, like, and you see this all over Adult Swim, I think actually because Cartoon Network and all that is based, or Viacom, I think they're based out of Atlanta as well. All those shows have the Georgia symbol. Like, the orange, green right, Georgia with the little peach leaf, thing going on. And, like, video game developers, too. I'm interested if we're going to start seeing a lot less of that. Because that's how you really know, like, if, because they were giving out great tax breaks, and that's why all those companies, like, moved down there. It's because they just, like, wanted to boost up their entertainment industry, So I want to start seeing less Georgia on, like, the, less Georgia production company symbols at the beginning of my movies and video games. And then we'll know, like, these companies actually mean business.
Well, you ain't getting Steve Harvey's ass out of there.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what's so fucking crazy about it's got to be a real interesting state to live in, like, especially in Atlanta, which is, like, famously a very African-American city, that it's almost like this is going to sound, I really can't speak out of my element, so I can't say it, but I get the impression it's like the capital of America for black people. That's the impression I get about Atlanta, and it's in the middle of fucking, and it's in the middle of one of the most racist states. I just feel for the people living in that city, like so progressive, very diverse is all I'm getting at. And then it's like, yo, but we just got all these fucking hicks surrounding us, fucking, fucking everything up.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like LA compared to a lot of the rest of California.
Or Chicago compared to Illinois, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, on a smaller scale, yeah. Like,
dude, no, there's people in Illinois that, like, straight up want Chicago to be its own state because it's so, like, opposite of the values of, like, rural Illinois.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, California, maybe 2 years ago, they wanted to become, like, 3 separate states because of basically political division. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, everyone's just, no one talks to each other anymore. We got LA, who obviously is famously very liberal for obvious reasons. And then there's, like, Orange County, which is it should be, the roads should be paved with leftover MAGA hats, but it's no different anywhere you go. I mean, like the major populated areas are generally liberal, and a lot of the rural areas are not. I'm not saying either one is 100% right, but it sucks that there's that much division.
Well, it's just what it comes down to for me is just that in rural areas it's so hard to get public assistance, and it's so hard to see your tax dollars actually being put to work, even though it is at the same time a bit ridiculous to say. I mean, every summer it goes from taking me 20 to 30 minutes to get to the nearest town to taking an hour and a half because they're fixing the roads, and that's obviously all paid for out of tax dollars, and that's people like helping us make sure that we can get to town, making sure that the roads are good, even though they're not perfect. But like, since I've lived out here now as long as I have, I mean, I really do start to see the frustration of the rural voter, where this thing with Pete Buttigieg and the whole mileage tax that he proposed to pay for the infrastructure bill is the perfect example of liberals not thinking about anything other than the city. And this is really like where it becomes such a problem, because it is all they think about is like, well, we got to fix these problems in the city. And I agree with, we got to fix problems in the city. The only problem is that the cities are where, for the most part, like, you got all these fucking people that are working in the financial centers downtown in these cities, and they're finding ways to get away from their taxes. They're not paying their taxes even though they're making the most money, because we know that people who make the most money are working in the city. Like, for the most part, I'd say 90% of people that way are making that money. So it's like, how about you start paying local taxes into the city that you work in so you can help the disenfranchised neighborhoods, like, fix their sidewalks. So, like, think of Milwaukee. You go downtown around the stadium now, the new Fiserv Forum, and it's just beautiful. The amount of work they put in around that whole area it's just gorgeous. They've transformed. But you go down, like, North Avenue past the freeway, and you get near, like, Fond du Lac Avenue, and this doesn't mean anything to anybody who doesn't know anything about Milwaukee, but, you get down to that, and it's just cracked sidewalks. Like, everything's fucked up. Nobody gives a shit about the roads. Nobody gives a shit about anything out there. And it's like, well, if you care so much, you're going to be this city-dwelling fucking liberal elite. And I'll actually say the word, even though I'm liberal myself, so it feels weird coming out of my mouth. Like, if you're going to be all about it, just start taking some of that money out of your fucking pocket and go and doing something in the neighborhoods that need the help, rather than putting it on fucking rural people to be like a part of the solution, that when we're just out here fucking living our own lives. We want everybody to do well. I'm actually pretty certain of that. It's just, man, like, I don't even got fucking running water. And I know that's my choice. I know that's my choice, but that's like the case of many people, many of my neighbors, like, living here in Alaska. So then, like, and we work our fucking asses off. So then you all of a sudden say, like, well, yeah, but we're going to need more money so that we can fix all these issues. It pisses people off. It really does.
What is the, you mentioned the, sorry to cut you off, but you mentioned the...
Oh, yeah, the Pete Buttigieg, yeah.
The mileage tax and all that is actually something I'm unfamiliar with. So what's that about?
So it maybe got shut down. He came out with this idea like 2 weeks ago, and I haven't heard much about it since. And I probably should have done more reading, because I really did I did the headline sort of research, and I just see he proposes a mileage tax on gas or on vehicles, rather like to pay for the infrastructure plan. Sorry, I kind of stumbled over my words there. And so I don't actually know the details, other than what he thought was a good idea was to say, if you drive more miles, you should pay more in tax for your car. And what my initial reaction to that was, I drive 40 miles to town. Now, granted, I only go to town twice a week, but that's 80 miles